Philippines look forward to continuing our long-standing partnership with the United States in working together for a freer, more peaceful world. We're confident that President Biden will wear his new mantle of leadership with pride and with due regard for the hopes and aspirations of the rest of the world. Pasensya na po, pero Ingles para maintindihan po ng mga Amerikano. Tulad ng una ninyong narinig sa aking press briefing, kahapon ng unang araw ng ocular inspection ng cold storage facilities na gagamitin natin para sa mga bakuna. Kasamang pinuntahan po ng ating Vaccine SAR Secretary Carlito Galvez ang Zuwilig Pharma. Makikita ninyo ang larawan ng Zuwilig sa inyong screen. Ito po ay sa Parañaque. May kakayahang ang cold rooms ng Zuwilig Pharma na matatagpuan sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas na makapag-hold ng 650 million vaccine doses, no? Habang ang walk-in freezers ng Zuwilig na may temperatura mula -50 hanggang -25 degrees ay nakakapagtago ng 40 million doses. Meron din silang ultra-low freezers na mayroong kakayahan na mag-maintain ng temperature na -80 degrees. Kaya nitong magtago ng 6.5 million doses. Ito po ay para sa Pfizer, no, na kinakailangan nga ng -70 to 80 degrees. Nagpunta rin po ang grupo ni Secretary Galvez sa Unilab sa Biñan, Laguna. Kasama ito para masiguro ang kahandaan natin upang dumating na sa pagdating ng bakuna. Kaya ng Unilab na mag-accommodate ng hindi bababa sa 5 million doses at any time na may temperaturang 2 to 8 degrees. Ito po yung para sa mga Chinese vaccines naman. No? Tingnan natin ang mga larawan. Chinek din po ni Secretary Galvez ang cold storage facility ng RITM na may kapasidad na magtago ng vaccines na nasa ultra-low at 2 to 8 degrees na temperature requirements. Ganito po ang proseso ng vaccine distribution mula cold storage facility hanggang sa recipient. Pagdating po sa Pilipinas, syempre po naka-refrigerated yan sa aeroplano, susundin po yan ng refrigerated na mga trucks din. Dadalhin po muna yan sa DOH rented private warehouse or sa RATM. Ito po muna Unahin muna natin yung sa cold storage facility na nangangailangan po ng -2 to 8 and -20. No? Pagdating po ay dadalhin sa DOH rented private warehouse. Pagkatapos po, padadala through refrigerated vans din sa regional warehouse at hub. From the regional warehouse at hub po, dadalhin yan sa mga city health offices at saka sa mga provincial health offices na meron din pong mga refrigerator. No? Tapos, dadalhin na po natin yan sa rural health units, sa mga city health offices na naka-refrigerator rin hanggang ibigay po sa ating mga kababayan. Para naman po dun sa Pfizer na merong cold storage facility na hanggang -70%, siyempre po, kinakailangan ng refrigeration yan sa aeroplano pa lang at pagsundo, refrigerated truck din. Yan naman po ay dadalhin kaagad sa rented private warehouse. At pagkatapos po sa rented private warehouse, diretso na po sa private, no? Kasi yung mga -70 po talaga ay mga pribado po yan. No? Ay dadalhin po natin sa regional health units at saka sa city health officers, sa mga hospital, sa implementing units at ibibigay po sa ating mga kababayan. Paalala lang po, ang scenarios na aking nabanggit ay maaari magkaiba base sa mga serbisyo na maibibigay ng vaccine manufacturers such as but not limited to direct distribution to the service delivery sites, presence of a distributor in the country. So ito po yung in default kung wala pong pangako na delivery doon mismo sa lugar na kung saan ibibigay ang mga bakuna. May mga kumpanya po kasing nangako ng ganyang serbisyo. Tulad ng aking sinabi, pag-usapan natin ngayong araw ang update tungkol sa telecommunication sector. Pasensya na po kayo, no? At syempre, yung usaping bakuna, naantala itong paghimay-himay natin ng report ng National Telecoms Commission. Pagkatapos po natin himay ng report, ay kasama po natin mamaya si Yusek Kaintik ng DICT para naman makuha kung anong evaluation ng ating DICT ukol dito sa report na ito. Now, sang-ayon po sa isinagawang speed test ng UCLA, ang global leader sa internet testing, data and analysis, ang internet speed ng Pilipinas ay nag-improve ng 297.47%. Ang tinutukoy dito ang internet average download speed for fixed broadband at 202.4% naman ang improvement sa mobile broadband. Now, Ang makikita nyo pong 297.47 increase ay increase simula po ng administrasyon ni Presidente Duterte, July 2016 hanggang Disyembre ng 2020. Pero kung titignan natin yung pag-increase naman mula nung nagbabala ang Presidente nung kanyang SONA ng July 2020 hanggang Disyembre ng taon nito, ay nagkaroon po ng 25.4% increase sa bilis ng fixed download speed. No? Okay, pagdating naman po sa mobile download speed, sang-ayon po sa sa UCLA, nagkaroon po ng 202.41% mula noong July 2016 hanggang December 2020. Pero yung increase po niya mula nung nagbabala ang Presidente sa kanyang SONA noong July 2020 hanggang December 2020 ay 32.7% increase. Ito ay para sa buwan ng Disyembre noong nakaraang taon, kung ikukumpira noong July 2016 speeds. Okay. Pagdating naman po sa average download speed for fixed broadband, ito ay nag-improve from 7.91 Mbps noong July 2016 at naging 31.44 Mbps noong December 2020. Kung ikukumpira po yung increase mula July 2020 to December 2020, ito po ay 25.4% increase. Ang average download speed ng mobile broadband ay nag-improve din po ng 7.44 Mbps noong July 2016. Ito po ay naging 22.50 Mbps noong December 2020. Pero kung ikukumpira po yung increase from July 2020 to December 2020, ito po ay 32.7% increase. Ngunit siyempre po, hindi tayo titigil dito. Kinakailangan po, mapakita pa rin natin na kapareho naman tayo o kapantay natin sa bilis ng internet ang ating mga karatig bansa dito po sa Asia. Ito pong lumalabas. As of November 2020, ang Pilipinas ay number 29 sa 50 bansa sa Asia. Pagdating sa download speed ranking sa fixed broadband. Ang mga kapitbahay natin, karatig bansa sa ASEAN tulad ng Singapore ay nasa unang pwesto, ang Thailand ay number 2, ang Malaysia ay number 11. Ang Vietnam ay number 14, ang Laos ay number 27. Siguro naman po, dapat kapantay tayo ng Vietnam man lang. Sa mobile broadband ay nasa number 34 po tayo out of 50 countries ang ating speed sa Asia. Pagdating sa fixed broadband ay number 20 po ang Pilipinas sa 46 sa bansa sa Asia Pasipiko. At number 22 naman po tayo sa mobile broadband sa 46 na bansa sa Asia Pasipiko. Well, dapat po talaga na mag-improve pa ang serbisyo ng ating mga telecom sa provider dahil lang nasabi ko na nga po nung nagkaroon tayo ng espesyal na edition ng Presidential Press Briefing dito sa mga telcos, hindi naman katanggap-tanggap na nahuhuli tayo sa ating mga karatig bansa at kinakailangan tayo ay magnais na maging world-class pagdating po sa telekomunikasyon. Okay, pag-usapan naman po natin ang permits, towers at fiber optic. Ang monthly average ng permits na inisyu noong 2019 ay 63 sa Globe at 50 sa Smart. Pero matapos magbigay ng direktiba ang Presidente na pabilisin ang pagbibigay ng mga permit ng mga lokal na pamahalaan, tumaas ang average monthly number of permits na na-issue mula Hulyo hanggang Disyembre nung nakaraan na taon. Nasa 552.65% ang itinaas sa Globe dahil 348 permits ang na-issue at 194.33% or 97 permits naman po ang na-issue sa Smart. Ang nais po nating makita sa lalong mabilis na panahon, ano po yung karagdagang improvement sa speed ng ating internet at doon sa ating cellular service ngayong ginawa na ng paraan ng ating Presidente mismo ang pagpapabilis ng pag-issue ng mga permits sa pagtatayo ng mga telecommunications towers. Dahil dumami nga po ang nag-issue ng permits, tumaas din ang bilang ng towers na naipatayo. Merong 2,939 additional towers ang naipatayo mula Hulyo hanggang Disyembre noong 2020. Makikita naman sa susunod na infographic ang cumulative number of additional towers na naipatayo na po na Smart, Globe at Dito. Ang total po na naitayo nila to date in December is 22,834 towers. Kaya nga po, titingnan po natin kung ganong porsyento ng pag-improve naman po ng speed ng internet at syempre yung quality ng cellular service. Pumunta naman po tayo sa fiber optic rollout. No? Meron ng 543,740 cable kilometers na laid out sa buong bansa as of 2020. Sa taong 2020 lamang, meron pong 144,551 cable kilometers ng fiber optic na na-roll out. Ang total change po niyan ay 36.21%. Ang percentage change. COVID update naman po tayo. Ito po ang global update ayon sa Johns Hopkins. Higit 96.7 million or 787,591 nabulol ako ang tinamaan ng COVID-19 sa buong mundo. Nasa 2,071,892 po katao ang binawian ng buhay dahil sa coronavirus. Nangunguna pa rin po Estados Unidos na mayroong mahigit 24.4 million na mga kaso at 405,630 deaths. Pangalawa pa rin po ang India, pangatlo pa rin ng Brazil, pang-apat pa rin ng Russia, at panglima po ang United Kingdom. Dito po sa Pilipinas, tumaas po ang ating mga aktibong kaso. Meron na po tayong 28,904 na mga aktibong kaso ayon po sa January 20, 2021 data ng Department of Health. Ang mabuting balita na lang po sa mga tumaas na active cases, 92.5% ay mild at asymptomatic, samantalang 4.5% po ay critical. Nasa 2.6 naman po ang severe. Nasa 466,993 ang kabuuan bilang ng mga gumaling or 92.3% recovery rate. Samantalang manungkot namin binabalita na 10,042 tao na po ang binawian dito po sa atin ng buhay dahil sa coronavirus. Nasa 1.98% po ang fatality rate. Nakikiramay po kami sa lahat. Makikita po natin sa infographic yung surge dito po sa huli ng ating kurbada. Sayang po, pababa na po sana talaga, pero sumipa na pataas. Ito po yung talaga naman pong kumpirmadong surge dahil nga po sa Kapaskuhan. Ang hindi pa natin nakikita kung gaanong katindi ang magiging surge dahil po sa translasyon. Ulitin po natin, habang hindi pa po nababakunahan ng mga Pilipino, kinakailangan pong limitahan ang mga magkakasakit sa atin. Magagawa po natin yan sa pamamagitan ng mask, hugas at iwas. Tingnan naman po natin ang availability ng mga kama para gamutin ang mga magkakasakit ng critical at severe. Well, bahagyang bumaba po ang available na ICU beds. Yung mga nakalipas na araw, 60% po yan, naging 59%, ngayon 58%. At yan naman po ay dahil nga po sa surge. Sana po hindi pa dumami ng ganong kadami ang mga magkakasakit na seryoso. Pero sa ngayon naman po, nothing to worry about dahil marami pa po tayong ICU beds. Sa isolation beds, meron pa po tayong 63% available. Mukha naman pong hindi dumami ang na-hospital sa ating mga isolation beds. Sa ward beds, 73% po ay available. So ang tumaas lang po talaga ay yung mga na-ICU. At ito naman po ay dahil nga po sa surge na ating naoobserbahan. Sa ventilators, 79% pa po ang available. Okay, dito po nagtatapos ang ating presentasyon. Gaya ng aking sinabi kanina, kunin po natin ang panig ng DICT dito sa report ng NTC. Lilinawin ko lang po, ang NTC po ay quasi-judicial pero it is an attached agency to the DICT. So kasama po natin ngayon, walang iba kundi si DICT Undersecretary Manny Caintic para sa kanyang obserbasyon at evaluation dito sa naging ulat ng NTC sa Pangulo bilang tugon doon sa sinabi ng ating Pangulo na kinakailangan mag-improve ang ating telecoms. Pero bago po natin tawagin si DICT Manny Caintic, ay wini-welcome ko po ngayon sa ating briefing room. Walang iba po kung hindi ang batang-bata, ang gwapong governor ng Samar, wala pong iba kundi si Reynolds Michael Tan. Governor Tan, welcome to our briefing. At kasama rin po ni Governor Tan ang kanyang Provincial Planning and Development Coordinator, si Mr. Nicasio Bermejo. Welcome po to our press briefing. So, Yusek Caintic, ano po ang ebalwasyon, anong tingin ng DICT sa naging ulat ng NTC at anong magiging rekomendasyon nyo kay Presidente? Dahil ang sabi ng Presidente, baka po kakanselahan niya mga prangkisa kung hindi po mag-improve ang serbisyo ng mga telecoms. The floor is yours, Yusek Kaintik.
Hi. Good afternoon, Secretary Harry, and thank you for inviting the DICT in this press briefing. I just have a couple of comments on the extensive report that our friends from the National Telecommunications Commission have done. So, una sa lahat, I want to highlight the fact that there has really been an increase in the tower rollout. And I think this is in positive response to the joint memorandum circular that we have done, as well as the President's directive in easing up the permits for the towers. In that regard, you have seen a dramatic increase in the tower rollout. And what does that imply? That will increase the extent of the coverage of the towers, of the mobile operators, in providing internet. Pag dumami din po ang kanilang tores, gaganda din po ang signal ng ating masasagap sa internet, because we're only as limited also with the extent of which the towers are prevalent. Ang challenge natin would still be the fiber rollout, yung land-based, which kami dito sa DICT, starting last quarter, have already been looking at improving also, creating also an equivalent joint memorandum circular for easing up and regularizing the permits needed for the fibers naman. Ang importante kasi dito, ang inihiling sa atin ng ating mga partners are the telecom providers is, number one, make it firm, hindi pa bago-bago, make it easy, hindi mahirap, at saka mas mura. Meaning to say, hindi pa iba-iba ang mga rates sa mga LGUs. We in the DICT are a firm believer of making easier, cheaper, and faster processing of such necessary permits for the fiber rollout. The fiber is also needed in this telecommunication kasi right now, because of the pandemic, nasa mga kabayan tayo, and we want it to be easy. So thank you so much, Secretary Harry, and we hope that with our increased and improved regulations in government, walang reason ang telecommunication sector na hindi nila mapalaganap ang kanilang pag-roll out at mapaganda ang kanilang services even better. Thank you po.
Yusek Kaintik, but I need your recommendation dahil I intend to make this presentation to the President for our weekly meeting bago po mag-taping for the Talk to the People. Sabi po ng Presidente, shape up or ship up. Ano pong rekomendasyon natin sa ating Presidente given this report from the NTC?
Our recommendation is to continue that firm stance and push for the telcos. And on our end, kasi sa government, hindi naman tayo nagkulang sa pagbigay ng suporta sa ating mga telecommunication company. So we should not lessen our pressure on them. In fact, we should even intensify the push. But at the same time, we should do our best as government also to alleviate yung problema doon sa mga permits. Ang challenge na nga ngayon is okay na yung sa towers, ang ating sunod na kailangan ayusin, kami dito sa DICT are on the land-based fiber rollout.
Okay.
So walang reason na mag-lessen ng pressure, pero dual work.
So para maging malinaw lang po, ang recommendation ninyo, wag naman mag-ship out, pero kinakailangan ipagpatuloy ang shape up. Tama ba ho yun?
Yes,
Yusek?
Secretary Harry, yes. Tuloy-tuloy ang push, tuloy-tuloy ang pressure ni President. Hindi, do not relent on the press.
Okay.
Full court press, kumbaga.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Yusek Kaintik. Please join us for our open forum. Simulan na po natin ang open forum with our colleagues in the Malacanang Press Corps. Yusek Roque, please.
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary Roque. Question from Evelyn Quiroz of Filipino Mirror. You recently offered your office as a venue for discussion between Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana and UP President Danilo Concepcion over the issue of the DND's abrogation of the 1989 agreement between the two. Have they accepted your offer?
Alinawin ko po na what I offered was my good office. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang yung physical office ko. Pwedeng sa labas po kung saan pakakainin ako ni Presidente Danilo Concepcion. Pero so far po, ang tumanggap lang po ay si Secretary Delfin Lorenzana. Hindi pa po ako nakakarinig ng kahit anong komento kay President Danilo Concepcion. Natatakot po sigurong pakainin ako sa labas.
For Yusek Manik Intik po, question from Evelyn Quiroz ng Filipino Mirror. Ito po tanong niya, the Commission on Audit has flagged the Department of Information and Communications Technology for using only 1.2 billion pesos out of its 6.2 billion funding for 2019 for a very low fund utilization rate. According to state auditors, a low allotment utilization rate would mean slow program project implementation rate. Can you explain the DICT's inability to maximize the utilization of its budget?
Thank you po. Una, bibigyan ko ng konteksto ang report. Una sa lahat, magpapasalamat kami sa COA for pointing out these deficiencies. We the DICT, recognize the importance of audit reports because it actually helps us pinpoint the problem. But to provide context, the 2019 budget was delayed. It was na-delay ang pag-approve ng 2019 budget. Ergo, everything else followed. But that is not an excuse. But if you look at the COA report, it also identifies in its full report that they helped us pinpoint that there are inefficiencies in the procurement and project implementation, executions. So this has been prevalent for the past 3-4 years. So what we have done with the Honasan leadership is to look at those inefficiencies and fix them. So we spent the time, fix them, so that the projects get implemented. Kasi hindi pwedeng bili ka ng bili, pabid ka ng pabid, hindi naman may implement. Take for example the Wi-Fi. For the past 5 years, from 2016 to 2019, 4 years, it has only been averaging an 800 per year deployment. But since we rectified the execution and then we started procuring again, we were able to roll out 4,300 Wi-Fi sites in just 1 year. So you see, we fixed the problem in the implementation and then we procured. Paruin ko lang din, the 2019 budget was extended till 2020. And the last report that we have right now, the full utilization of the 2019 budget extended to 2020 is now 80%. So my answer to this is that the DICT is rectifying its programs, always constantly checking the effectivity of the program. We need to be able to manage our vendors, our partners, our execution partners, so that we attain the economic outcomes we desire. Hindi ibig sabihin that hindi natin i-rectify ang ating mga nakagawi ang mga mali. Thank you po, sir.
Okay, Yusek Roque, if I may add, no, Secretary Wendell Avisado also sent us a note saying that despite the ongoing pandemic, government's actual infrastructure disbursements from January to November 2020 exceeded the infrastructure program level. In particular, infrastructure disbursements as of November 2020 totaled 727.9 billion, which is 4% more than the program level of 699.2 billion. So in-expect din po natin na yung spending for December 2020 will accelerate compared to the earlier months since line departments try to fast-track the implementation of their programs and settle their outstanding payables before the end of the year. In addition, yung big spending departments such as DPWH and the UTR have also committed to implement the respective catch-up plans for 2020. Ibig sabihin, wala naman pong overall underspending pagdating po sa infrastructure projects. Thank you, Yusek Roque. We go to Melo Acuña, please.
Magandang tanghali po, Secretary Harry. Ilang punto lang. Ngayon may bago ng Pangulo sa Estados Unidos. Magbabago po kaya ang foreign policy ng Pilipinas tungo sa Estados Unidos?
Well, sa akin naman po, ang ating relasyon ng panglabas, pareho naman pong consistent ang ating polisiya. Ang presidente po ay sinusulong ang isang independenteng panglabas na relasyon na ang inuuna po ay interes ng ating bayan at mga sambayan ng Pilipino. Ganun din po mga Amerikano. Isusulong nila ang pang-nasyonal nilang interes at siyempre po ang pagkakaibigan naririyan, pero kinakailangan po ang parehong bansa ang isulong ang kanilang mga interes.
Opo. Nabasa ko po sa Philippine Star yung report tungkol sa 2.34 billion shelter projects sa ARMM. Tila hindi po yata natapos yung mga proyekto pero nagkabayaran. Ito po ba ay sisiyasatin ng tanggapan ng Pangulo sapagkat mayroong kampanya ang administrasyon laban sa corruption? Yung po mga programa na hindi na ipatupad nung panahon pa ng ARMM. Ano po kaya ang sitwasyon?
Siyempre po, titignan natin yan. No? Nabasa ko naman po ang Star kanina, so hindi po yan lumabas kanina. Siguro yung mga nakalipas na araw.
Kahapon po.
So, kukunin po natin yung artikulo na yan at I'm sure po ang Presidente, dahil ang prioridad niya ngayon sa natitira niyang termino ay itigil niya itong problema ng korupsyon, ay pag-aaralan po ito.
Maraming salamat po. Para po kay Undersecretary Manica Intik, magandang tanghali po.
Good afternoon, sir.
Opo, ang tanong ko po ay may kinalaman sa monitoring ninyo ng telcos. Baka meron pong overloading sapagkat kahit po sabihin natin meron sila mga fiber optics, pag nagsama-sama po yung gagamit ng internet, bumabagal kung hindi napuputol. Baka po parang jeep ito na overloaded. Ano po kaya ang magagawa ng DICT?
Thank you, Sir Melo. Tulad ng sinabi ko nga kanina, ang kailangan is pagpalaganap pa ng marami pang fiber cable. Cable muna tayo. Kulang pa. We are actually a very big nation. 400,000 square kilometers tayo, no? So malaki-laki pa, malawak pa. And our fiber cable rollout is still minimal. So kailangan double, triple, quadruple time pa ang mga telcos sa pagpalaganap. Tayo sa government, ang may tutulong natin is hindi magkaroon ng sagabal sa pag-roll out na yun. Doon sa Tory, ramdam na nila. Hindi na sila pinapahirapan. Pero kailangan pa po ng kable. Sa ganon, pag dumami ang kable, hindi tayo na-overloadan. Para lang bus yan, sir, sa nakikita ko sa drawing sa picture mo. Pag kulang ang bus,
Salamat po.
nakatayo na tayo lahat. Salamat po.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Salamat,
Thank
Melo.
you,
Salamat,
Secretary
Yusek.
Harry. Thank you.
Back to Yusek Roque, please.
Secretary, question from Virgil Lopez ng... sir, sandali lang po ha. Yes, question from Virgil Lopez ng GMA News Online. Some senators daw po have pushed for the passage of the bill seeking to amend the UP Charter Act of 2008 to require prior notification of the entry of police and military units in all UP campuses. Is the palace for or against this bill?
We always respect the prerogative of our legislators to legislate national policies. No? So sa akin po, that seems to be a reasonable proposal, but that has to be enacted po into law.
Question from Chris Jose Remate Online. Reaksyon ba sa panawagan ng Duterte Youth Party List sa DND na kanselahin na rin ang agreement nito sa PUP katulad ng ginawa sa UP? Sinabi ni Congressman Cardema na ang UP DND Accord at PUP DND Accord ay klarong-klaro na special treatment na inaabuso na sa tagal ng panahon. Sa tingin ninyo, susuportahan din ng Pangulo na makansela ang PUP DND Accord?
Sa reaction po, karapatan naman po yan ng Duterte Youth na magsalita, no? Pero yan po ay opinion ng Duterte Youth.
Thank you, Secretary.
Maraming salamat. Tricia Tirada, please.
Hi, good afternoon, Spokes. Spokes, doon lang po sa usapin ko rin ng bakuna. Nagkausap na po si Senator Lacson and si Secretary Galvez, and as how Senator Lacson described it, they had a good discussion or meeting. And he shared that after the meeting, he advised Secretary Galvez that some people to be more careful, to be extra cautious about possibly some people taking advantage of his credibility. What can Malacanang say about this, sir? And has Malacanang considered this possibility? And ano, sir, yung steps that you're taking to actually protect Secretary Galvez?
Hindi ko po alam kung anong sinasabi ni Senator Lacson, no? But I guess, in our earlier talks with General Galvez, I did warn him that although si General Galvez is a technocrat, no, he's not just a military leader. He has advanced management degrees from Australia, no? And he is a true blue technocrat. Ang warning ko sa kanya, do not think that the release of information is equivalent to communication. Iba po yun. No? At ang sinasabi ko nga, ang warning ko sa mulat-mula, talagang ipupolitika po yan. Dahil wala na po talagang mabatong kahit anong issue sa administrasyon ni Presidente Duterte. Ngayong patapos na po ang termino ng ating Presidente. So I think he now knows what I mean. That the release of information does not necessarily mean it is strategic communication. No? So anyway, yun lang po ang aking reaksyon.
Sir, yung usapin po ng UP Accord, I'm sure nakarating na po ito kay Pangulo. What does he think of the appeals, the sentiments of the UP community? Will he be open to listening or at least to meeting with President Concepcion?
As I said po, itong bagay nito hindi na po kinakailangan makarating sa level ng Presidente. Although we do have the principle of qualified political agency, sa level na po ito ni Secretary Lorenzana. And as I have said, no, I have offered my good offices. Secretary Delfin Lorenzana has accepted, and I continue to await word from President Danilo Concepcion.
Sir, sa ibang topic naman, numbers have gone up the past few days. Yung nabanggit niyo nga po yung surge. How will this factor in the quarantine classification? Can we expect that there will be areas?
Well, hindi ko po pwedeng pangunahan ng IETF, no? Pero paulit-ulit ko po sinasabi, data analytics will dictate kung ano po ang ating quarantine classification. At sa tingin ko po, nakita nyo naman yung availability of beds natin, no? Dalawa lang pong lugar ang critical, no? Ang nasa moderate po pala, hindi pa critical, no? Wala pa sa red. Yung CAR at saka yung Region 11. So, yung mga areas na po yun, binabantayan po natin dahil pag umabot sa critical yan from moderate, syempre po, meron tayong dahilan. Pero ang quarantine classification nga po will not really be on a national basis. It will be in a local basis. No? But as I said, i-discuss pa po yan dahil so far hindi pa po napipresent ang DOH ng latest analytics nila. Baka mamayang hapon po, no? Today is the 21st. Hindi pa. Baka in the next meeting pa yung data nila. Next.
Secretary Roque, also
Yes,
please.
Yusek. Yusek, thank you very much. Trish, tapos na ba si Trish o may question pa? May internet interruption lang. So may isa pang question ata si Trish. But meanwhile, let's go to Yusek Roque, please. Nako, nawala na rin sila pareho. Yusek Kaintik, ba't ganito? Wala rin si Yusek Kaintik.
Hello?
Yes, okay. Yusek Kaintik, you witness po kung ano nangyayari dito sa ating press briefing. Ano ba ho talagang dapat gawin natin para hindi naman kami maputol? Puro Metro Manila kami, napuputol kami.
Yeah.
Can I ask Yusek Kaintik first? Yusek, you've witnessed yung ating problema even in our discharge of our official functions, no? Lahat kami nasa Metro Manila, pero ganito, napuputol. Ano ba ho? Kailan ba ho mapititigil itong ating hinagpis na napuputulan tayo ng internet? Yusek Kaintik. Yusek Kaintik? O putol ka rin? Wala. Putok din ata. Yusek Kaintik? Wala. Oh, well. Any of the two, Trish Tirada or Asek Roque or Yusek Kaintik, please. Nako, patay na. Yusek Kaintik. Yusek Kaintik. Yusek Kaintik. Talaga bang... Yusek Aintik, wala kang audio. Okay, let's try Trish again. Nako, anyway, sa aking report po kay Presidente sa Lunes, sasabihin ko po ang nangyari on the day we rendered a report on the telcos na nawalan po kami ng connection sa lahat. Hindi ko na alam kung nasan tayo. Virgil. Okay? Ayan, Yusek.
Ulitin ko yung question ni Virgil Lopez, Secretary.
Yes, go ahead.
Opo. Ang tanong po ni Virgil Lopez, some senators daw po have pushed for the passage of the bill seeking to amend the UP Charter Act of 2008 to require prior notification on the entry of police and military units in all UP campuses. Is the palace for or against this bill?
We leave that to the wisdom of Congress because that's an issue of national policy. Although, as I said, it sounds like a reasonable legislative proposal.
Opo, yung second question po niya, reaction niyo sa panawagan ng Duterte Youth Party List. Question naman po ni Chris Susena Remate online.
Nasagot na po.
Reaction niyo po sa...
Nasagot na po yan. Already answered.
Okay.
Okay. So we go to Pia Ranada.
Sir, I think hindi po natapos si Trish Terada, Secretary.
Trish, are you here?
Yes, sir. Hi, sir.
Yes,
May
okay, go
question,
ahead.
sir, earlier po, bago po tayo naputol. Yung numbers po have gone up these past days. Yung binabanggit nyo nga pong surge. How will this affect or factor in the quarantine classifications? Can we expect, sir, kagaya po rin nabanggit nyo rin last time about sa new normal, meron na po bang lugar na mapapalagay under the new normal or will this take a while since IATF still crafting itong do's and don'ts po?
Yes. 2 points, no? Sinagot ko na yung first point mo. What will determine the new classification is still the attack rate and the critical care capacity. So far, 2 rehiyon lang po ang nasa moderate or papalapit na ng moderate yung isa. No? Ang nasa moderate na po ngayon ay ang CAR.
CAR.
Oo. Tapos, ang Region 11 po, papalapit na rin sa moderate. Pag umabot po yan sa critical, well, that will really be a factor in escalating community quarantine classification in these 2 areas. No? Pero hindi naman po national. No? Pangalawa po, in principle, magkakaroon po talaga tayo ng new normals, pero sa hanggang ngayon po ay hinihimay-himay pa rin kung ano yung mga do's and don'ts sa mga areas na ito. At syempre po, dahil may surge, parang titignan po natin kung meron pa rin tayong mga lugar na wala po talagang active cases for an extended period of time.
Sir, may mga panawagan po ngayon ng wage hike amid yung rising prices of livestock, of yung mga food needs natin, sir. No? How does Malacanang, how will you Malacanang reconcile it? And is it possible, kaya ng industry ng businesses natin to push for a wage hike?
Well, meron na po tayong batas tungkol dyan. No? Ang mga regional wage boards po ang magdedesisyon dyan. Pwede naman pong kahit sino mag-apply for increase in the regional minimum wage if they would want to. Pero gaya ng sinabi mo na rin, no, kinakailangan balansahin natin yan sa katotohanan na because nga of the pandemic, napakadami rin mga negosyo ang nahihirapan kung hindi tuluyan na nagsara.
Sir, very short lang on the telcos, no? Does Malacanang have a target or final deadline this year kung kailan po dapat ma-achieve, for example, a specific ranking or a specific speed?
Well, ang gagawin ko lang po sa Lunes, no? Pipresenta ko lang po itong i-discuss ko po itong rekomendasyon of findings ng NTC and the recommendation of the ICT, and I will seek guidance from the President.
Thank you, spokes. That's all. Thank you po.
Yusek Manica Intik. Yusek?
Yes, sir.
O, ito po, na-experience natin first hand ang problema natin sa internet connection. We're all in Metro Manila. Ilang beses na po tayo naputol. Ano ba talagang solusyon dito?
More towers, more fiber cables, and better customer service.
Ang question po, when? When, Manong?
When it takes time to build, but we help them build. We help them build by making our regulations easy firm, and faster ang firm.
Even your audio, Yusek Kaintik, ha, coming from, even your audio is problematic po, ah. So anyway, just for your
Salamat po ako, sir.
information. Okay, next question please, Yusek Roque. Yusek Roque, please.
Opo. Secretary, question from Prince Goles ng Politico Abante. Yesterday daw po, you offered to mediate talks between Defense Secretary Lorenzana and UP President Concepcion concerning the 1989 Accord. Should this materialize, what do you wish to achieve from this conversation?
Ako naman po, a good office, we don't need to have a fixed goal. It's for the parties to talk. At ang sabi ko nga po, as a UP graduate, I have never experienced how it is to have military or soldiers on campus. Yun lang po.
Opo. The second question po niya, as someone who has spent more than 15 years in UP as a student and another 15 as a professor, do you support the DND's decision to terminate its agreement with UP?
Well, sa tagal ko po kasing nasa UP, no, since high school pa ako, itong accord naman po ito, pinirmahan na ng third year law student na po ako. Ibig sabihin, from high school until third year law, wala naman po yung accord na yan. At yung mga panahon po niyan, kasagsagan ng aking pagiging aktivista, personally, hindi po ako nagpatinag. Nung panahon na nandyan yung mga posibleng mga, kumbaga, espiya ng militar, hindi po ako nagpatinag. In fact, yun po yung time na dinibato ko, no less than Amy Marcos in high school. And 1 month later, Trajano disappeared. No? May police po noon on campus. Wala naman po. Ang naniniwala ako, dahil nga po dun sa tradisyon ng UP, ng critical thought, ang mga estudyante dyan patuloy na mananandigan kahit ano pa po, kung kahit meron o walang mga pulis. Pero siyempre po, may dahilan din naman kaya nagkaroon ng ganyang kasunduan, kaya nais kong pag-usapan po sana ng UP at ni Secretary Lorenzana.
Thank you, Secretary.
Yes, Pierre Nada, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead,
Can you hear
please.
me? Sir, 3 questions for you and then 1 question for Sir Kaintik. Sir, first, last August, the President said that he volunteered actually to get vaccinated in public with Russia's vaccine. And then yesterday or a few days ago, you said that he wants a private vaccination. What led him to change his mind?
That's his personal decision. I don't think he has to explain.
So it's nothing to do with, because he volunteered for a public vaccination because he wanted to say that he's confident that these vaccines are safe and he wanted to encourage people to get vaccinated. Does this goal still not exist?
It
for the
does.
President?
Kaya nga po kita nyo na ngayon ang mga public information dissemination natin, no? Not only in our presidential press briefings, but also in Laging Handa and in the different programs of PCOO.
Sir, does the President plan to call President Biden in the coming days, perhaps to bring up the VFA or other issues?
I have no information as of yet. My next meeting with the President is this afternoon, no, where there is an affair concerning the BARM.
And then, sir, lastly, you mentioned the meeting you're brokering with Secretary Lorenzana. Sir, does this mean that that Secretary Lorenzana is actually now open to walking back on his termination of the UP-DND Accord?
No, it doesn't mean anything. Alam mo, pag sinabi mong good offices, wala naman po yan kahit anong prerequisite. It's just an opportunity to sit down. Pero wala po yung objective, wala po yung waiver of anything. It's done principally in interstate relations, but has also been resorted to even in a domestic setting for purposes of either mediation or conciliation.
So, sir, would you say that the likelihood of Secretary Lorenzana changing his mind after the meeting is 0?
No, I will not say that until they have actually been able to sit down and talk.
Okay. And then next for Sir Kaintik, Sir Manny. Sir, I've been asking this of DOH through their FOI portal and other officials as well, even StaySafe, sir. And I just wanted to know if you can say the details or the date even, just the date na nasign po yung MOA dapat that StaySafe would transfer its users' data. Multisys would transfer StaySafe users' data to the government. When was this MOA signed? Is there a MOA?
The deed of donation is still trying to design, pinapasign pa namin sa DOH, pero I think that's forthcoming. I cannot give you a date yet on that. Wala pa rin naman pinatransfer pa na data on that.
Okay, because I remember yung resolution po ng IATF 42, I believe, or 82, it was contingent on that MOA being signed and that deed of donation being signed. So how can we push through with the rollout of StaySafe? In fact, wala pa palang donation of the user's data. How do you assure citizens that its data is safe?
That's the decision of the IATF. So I trust in the wisdom of the body as a whole.
So, sir, we violated the IATF resolution.
I'm not saying that. It's just that the decision was to adopt it as well.
So, sir, how do we assure citizens nga that their users' data is safe? Is it currently with StaySafe, with Multisys, a private organization, private firm?
Right now po, I think the National Privacy Commission has already been doing ongoing at continuous naman ang kanilang privacy assistance dun sa StaySafe. So maybe you can direct the question to them.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Pia. We go back to Yusek Roque, please.
Yes, Secretary, question from Tina Mendez ng Philippine Star. Graft charges were filed against BSP Governor Benjamin Jocno, 6 officials on the procurement of 116 million national ID contract and reaction from Malacanang. How will this affect the administration's move to implement the national ID program?
Wala naman po, no? Kung maalala nyo, si Governor Jocno until fairly recently was in the cabinet enjoying the full trust and confidence of the president. In fact, he trusted him so much that he promoted him to become central bank governor. So naninindigan po tayo sa integridad ni Governor Jocno at alam naman natin na karapatan na kahit sino magsampa ng kaso, pero kampante po kami at nagtitiwala na magbibigay linaw po si Governor Jocno sa issue nito.
From Tina Panganiban Perez of GMA 7, what is the unemployment situation in the country right now with the pandemic, and what industry sectors are most affected? What assistance can the government give them or is giving them?
Hindi ko po memoryado, no? Pero ang alam ko po, mula nung nag-ease up tayo at binuksan natin bahagya ang ating ekonomiya, parang nangalahati po yung ating unemployment, pero yung kalahating yon ay doble pa rin ang unemployment bago magkaroon ng pandemya. Pero hindi ko lang po maalala kung ano yung figures na yon. Kaya nga po paulit-ulit tayo nagsasabi na pwede po tayo at dapat tayo mabuhay despite and in spite the virus. At kaya naman po natin yan sa pamamagitan ng mask, hugas at iwas. Kinakailangan po pangalagaan natin ang ating kalusugan para sa ating mga hanap buhay. Ingat buhay para sa hanap buhay.
From Ace Romero, Philstar, Secretary Locsin tweeted, "Our entire passport revolving fund is gone and we are in arrears to Apple 388 million for printing passport booklets. Apparently, the fund was eaten up by travel allowances, insurance miscellany. So bear with us until I find the money to replenish the fund." Ano daw po ang action ng Malacanang on this?
Well, we trust that Secretary Locsin can find the funds, no? And I will bring this matter up also to Secretary Avisado.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Yusek Roque. Joseph Morong, please.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Sir, my questions first are on the vaccination schedule of the government. Can you provide us now with the specific date of vaccination that the public can expect?
Ang sinasabi po ni Secretary Galvez, bagamat merong petsa po yung pagdating ng Sinovac sa February 20, merong posibilidad na mauna pa ang ilang supplies ng Pfizer dumating kesa sa Pebrero 20. At narinig ko rin po nung huling naging panauhin natin si Secretary Galvez na it will take around 10 days bago mabakunahan ang taong bayan dahil meron silang kinakailangan inventory at pagsisiguro na dapat gawin. No? So we can expect na kung mas maaga ang darating sa Pfizer, then meron tayong mauunang bakuna within the month of January. Kung darating po ng January 20, baka naman pong pwedeng mapabilisan yung Sinovac para magkaroon tayo ng unang pagturok also within the month of January, which is still feasible kasi sabi niya around 10 days and 10 days after the 20th is still, no, the 31st, and we do have the 31st in this month of January. Meron nga po.
Within January, sir?
Well, ang aking computation lang po, no? January tuloy. February pala. Wala palang 31 ng February, no? So, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. January ako ng January. February 20 po kasi yun, no? So, 10 days, baka Marso na kung darating po ng February 20, pero sana po nga, no, mapabilisan, no, para at least within February may una nang maturukan with Sinovac. Pero kung darating po na mas maaga yung Pfizer, baka naman po kung earlier, baka yung 10 days requirement within February pa rin po. I stand corrected.
Correct.
Sorry po. Kaya mali yung count ko ng January. February pa lang, walang 31. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, March, probably yung Sinovac, and we're hoping that Pfizer will be earlier and within the month of February, no?
Well, libre naman po umasa. So we're hoping that both we can start in the month of February. Hope lang naman po yun.
Okay. So yung 30 to 40 million vaccines from the COVAX facility, wala pa po tayong brand niyan, no? Sino magde-decide nun? WHO?
Well, ang naunang binitawang salita po ni Secretary Galvez is possibly Pfizer from COVAX. And this is entitled tayo to 22% of our population. No? Pero sinabi rin ni Secretary Galvez, hindi po malakihan ang dating yan. So parang tingi-tingi po ang dating yan, mga tagwa 100,000 a month, thereabouts. No? So because COVAX, of course, is intended to ensure that all middle income and poor countries have access to the vaccines. At ang latest balita ko po, bukod dun sa 3 Western brands, nag-apply na rin po ang 3 bakuna ng China para mapasama po dun sa COVAX facility.
Understood. Sir, in terms of deployment, kanina diniscuss nyo and diniscuss din ni Secretary Galvez or si Secretary Yusek Berhere, yung storage facility. There are limitations, no? In terms of storing what vaccines. Now, it will matter, I think, no? And I don't know if you share the same opinion, it will matter in terms of what vaccines, what ang matatanggap ng mga provinces. So, my question, sir, is, given the limitations in the storage facilities, what vaccines will go to what provinces?
Ang masasabi ko lang po, ang Pfizer, and hindi ako sigurado kung Moderna ba. Basta yung negative 70. Basta, ang alam ko lang, yung Pfizer that requires negative 70, Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao lang po siya mapupunta dahil yun lang merong cold storage capacity na up to 70 to 80 degrees negative. No? Pero yung iba naman po, refrigeration lang. At so, all the other vaccines can be delivered to the other provinces.
So, yun pong halimbawa, Sinovac, Sinopharm, Gamaleya, will go to the other provinces.
Opo, limited nga lang po yung Pfizer. Can you check please kung ano pa yung isa na negative 80? Is it Moderna? Kasi pareho silang mRNA. Oo. Ang AstraZeneca, alam ko, hindi naman kinakailangan talaga yan. No? I think it's only the mRNAs that require negative 70
So,
to
Pfizer
80.
and Moderna.
Oh, yes.
So sir, hindi ba yan parang, well, coming from the public point of view, na parang discrimination?
Hindi po. Kasi in-explain po ni Dr. Lulu Bravo na talagang mRNA that requires negative 70 to negative 80 is really intended for developed countries with cold storage facilities. Talagang hindi po yan for everyone in developing countries that don't have that capacity. In that sense, it's the science that dictated it. It was not intentional on the part of the manufacturers. But yan nga pong in-explain natin. Bagamat ilan ay binabasihan kung anong gusto nilang bakuna, depende kung saan ginawa, may mga ginagawa po talaga intended for those countries alone. Hindi naman nila inisip na ibibigay yan sa mga country na walang infrastructure para tanggapin yung mga bakunang yan.
So yun sa COVAX fee yun, no? Just so for the record.
What about the COVAX fee?
Yung matatanggap natin na 30 to 40.
Yung pauna po, pero yun nga po, may negosyasyon tayo, nabibili pa rin tayo, no? Wait a minute, ano ba itong inaabot sa akin? Sa unemployment, no? So, anyway, nasabi ko naman po ito kanina, no? Tama po ako. Ang height po nito, masyadong mahaba. Basta alam ko po, At the height of the lockdown, is the peak. Nung nagbukas po tayo ng kalahati, pero yung kalahating yon is still double compared to what we had before the pandemic.
Sir, just last two questions. Since the disclosure po, si Secretary Galvez has already disclosed to the senators, no, na yung prices ng ating mga vaccines. Does it not break the CDA? And what is the difference between disclosing it to the senators and to the public?
Unang-una, I was not privy to that meeting, so I cannot confirm for a fact po. No? I think earlier, si Secretary Galvez was the guest in Laging Handa. I do not know if he confirmed. But your question is, will it not be a violation? Ang tingin ko naman po, hindi naman po siguro because it was not made public, no, as in to the general public. No? But I do not know if he actually did. He may have just given also a range. I was not in the meeting, as I said. Okay, ang Moderna papalo, hindi naman pala po negative 70 to 80. It's negative 25 to negative 15 Celsius ang Moderna.
So it's just Pfizer, yung for urban cities.
Pero limitado rin po ang ating negative 25 to negative 15. No? Limitado rin po yan.
Okay. Sir, last na lang. Now we have a new US administration. Update, sir, ano ba yung mga makukuha natin na vaccines from the US? And will a change in the administration affect that commitment or not?
I don't think it will affect any commitments already negotiated because these are in the nature anyway of G2G agreements. No? So summarizing what has been mentioned by Ambassador Romualdez, we can look forward to a supply from Pfizer. We can look forward to 20 million from Moderna. 10 to the private sector and 10 to the government sector. And J&J will conduct clinical trials in the Philippines.
All right, sir. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Yusek Roque, please.
From Kylie Atienza ng Business World, Secretary, data from the Department of Budget and Management showed infrastructure and other capital outlays declined by 50% to 40.3 billion pesos in November from 80.9 billion a year ago. Infrastructure spending in November was also 29.4% smaller than the 57 billion spent in October, marking the fifth straight month of year-on-year decline since June, when it posted a 44.5% annual growth. Also, overall state spending reached 4.205 trillion pesos at the end of 2020, up 11% year-on-year, but fell short of its 4.23 trillion target by 0.66%, according to preliminary data presented by the Finance Department on January 12. Ang question po niya, what's the administration response to this?
Alam niyo po, ito yung sinasabi ko na bagamat I am the one who broke the tradition of all spokesperson na hindi ko hinihingi ang questions in advance. Pero kung ganitong kadetalyado po ang tanong ninyo, paano naman ako sasagot dyan? No? Pero kanina po, ang sinabi ko naman po as far as spending on infrastructure is concerned, nag-exceed nga po yung ating infrastructure spending doon sa ating actually programmed na spending. Sabi ko po kanina, we actually exceeded the infrastructure program level. In particular, infrastructure disbursements totaled 727.9 billion, which is 4% more than program level of 699.2. Pero yung mga ibang tanong mo, hindi ko po masasagot because I don't have the data. So yung mga ganitong questions po, I will appreciate if you send it to me ahead of time. Kasi yung revenues mo, hindi ko po masasagot yan kasi I have no data po kung magkano na ang actual revenue collection nating ng ating Department of Finance. No? So yung mga ganitong question lang po na detalyado at may mga datos na kinakailangan, please send ahead of time. But siguro po on Monday, our next press briefing, yung question mo about revenues earned, yan po yung sasagutin ko next time. No?
Okay, Secretary, meron siyang 5 questions dito pero basahin ko na lang yung iba baka po kasi may masagot niyo rin. Yung second question niya, how will the Philippine government address underspending especially for infrastructure to realize the potential gains of its ever-increasing budget?
As I said, hindi po totoo na merong underspending on infrastructure. Yung ating actual disbursement of funds po exceeded pa our program level. So siguro po ongoing pa rin yung mga proyekto noong Disyembre at hindi pa pumapasok ang datos ng Disyembre. So yan po ang explanation. Bagamat aminado tayo, talagang nagkaroon ng delay. Bakit? Kasi pandemya po. Kailan lang naman nagkaroon ng IATF decision na po pwede nang ituloy, lalong-lalo na yung mga build projects. Nung nasa ECQ po tayo, parang months pang inabot before we ordered that construction projects may resume. So talaga pong nagkaroon ng delay, pero kampante naman po tayo, it will not translate to underspending because we actually disburse more than what we expected to disburse.
Okay, yung third question niya, will the government boost its infra spending in the last few months of the administration?
Nakasaad na po yan sa 2021 budget. And as usual, build still comprises one of our most important strategies in our desire to recover from the economic effects of the pandemic.
A question from Joe Montemayor. Has President Duterte called up or sent a congratulatory message to President Biden? If he called, when and how long was the talk, and what did they talk about?
No information po, but I will ask this afternoon.
From Celerina Monte, during the past few months, there seemed to be improvement on internet services. However, this January, some customers, specifically the PLDT customers, received messages from telco that the customers have to upgrade and pay higher amount. Otherwise, they will return to slower internet services kasi tapos na raw ang trial. The customers were surprised to find out that na-trial lang pala yung improvement na naramdaman noong mga nakaraang ilang buwan. May rason po ba para taasan ang singil ng mga telco?
Perhaps Yusek Intik can answer that question.
Folks, I will ask the NTC to look into this from their customer complaint section so we can have this answered accordingly. This is the first time I've heard about it. As to the question kung dapat ba tumaas ang bayad dahil nag-roll out tayo ng more, dapat hindi naman. But we will look into this question po, with this complaint.
Okay.
Okay. Question from Pia Gutierrez. What does the palace think of the DTI's recommendation to allow children as young as 10 years old to go out to boost consumer spending and help revive the economy?
This will be discussed in this afternoon's meeting of the IATF.
Opo. From Sama Danilia, question for you sa Kaintik lang po. Magkoconduct pa po kaya ng another round of assessment ng NTC or DICT sa performance ng telcos later this year? Will the government still consider the nationalization of communication services after po mag-improve ang telco services?
As to the survey, of course, that will now be a yearly thing. As to nationalization, hindi po natin yan hangarin. We are trying to build the national broadband, but that's for the purpose of the national government agencies, LGUs, and its government instrumentality. Thank you po.
Opo. Second question po niya, kailan po expected na makomplete ang joint memorandum circular for fiber optic installation?
That's ongoing already for first quarter. We're doing this with the Anti-Red Tape Authority, the DILG, the Board of Investment. Kamusta ko pang-lima? Sige.
Opo. So, ang katlo po niyang tanong, update daw po sa implementation ng National Broadband Project of the Department of Information and Communication. Meron na po kayang timeline for the said project?
Ongoing po ang phase 1. We're expected to complete phase 1 by July of this year. That will be lighting up government's own fiber infrastructure from Lawag to NCR. Thank you.
Opo, tanong po sa inyo, Yusek Intik ni Jump Punsala ng ABS-CBN, how much will government spend to help telcos improve their internet infrastructure aside from streamlining permit processes? How will regulators help firms further boost our internet speed?
Hindi po hindi po budget ng government ang to invest in the public franchises, no? Such as the private entities. That's an investment on their part. Trabaho po ng government is to invest in its own infrastructure for its own proprietary use. By doing so, we are actually spurring the demand as well, and it could actually help them expand to areas wherein tinatawag natin ang missionary sites. Places like wherein it's not economically feasible for them to expand. That's our objective. Thank you.
Opo. Thank you, Yusek Intik. For Secretary Roque, question from Sherry Ann Torres of ABS-CBN. Reaction daw po sa sinabi ni Secretary Carlito Galvez na hindi totoo na pinag-walk out siya sa Senate hearing as was claimed yesterday.
Hindi ko po alam kung sino nag-claim na nag-walk out siya. Dahil ang sinabi ko dito is a specific instruction from the President. But I never said anyone walked out and I never said anyone will walk out. So hindi po ako yung tinutukoy.
Okay. Thank you, Secretary Roque.
Okay. Maraming salamat po dahil wala na po tayong mga katanungan. Maraming salamat sa ating mga kasama sa Malacanang Press Corps. Maraming salamat, Yusek Roque. And thank you, Yusek Intik. Sana po, bago matapos ang termino ng ating presidente, kung meron pang pandemya, at least sa Metro Manila, hindi na po mapuputol yung aming mga interlink, yung mga internet connection pag kami po ay nagpe-press briefing. So ang problema po talaga ng telecoms, ramdam ng lahat, pati po dito sa seat of power na Malacanang Palace. So with these notes, sa ngalan po ng ating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ito po yung Spokes Harry Roque nagsasabi, ang pangako ng Presidente, kinakailangan komportable ang taong bayan. At ang ating internet connection ng telekomunikasyon, hindi na po yan pribilehiyo, yan po ay kinikilala na karapatang pantao. Asahan niyo po, hindi matatapos ang termino ng Presidente na hindi po mabibigyan ng mas epektibo, mas mabilis na serbisyo at mas mabuting serbisyo ng telecoms ang taong bayan. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Matinding kalaban ng COVID.
Ayokong makahawa.
At mahawa.
Pero kailangan ko na magtrabaho.
Kaya di ako magiging pabaya.
Di matigas ang aking ulo.
Iingatan ko ang aking sarili.
Para maingatan ang pamilya ko.
Ito ang ambag ko. Ako.
Ikaw.
Lahat tayo.
Sama-sama nating
Mayaangat ang bayan.
Basta't sama-sama tayo.
Sa pag-ingat buhay.
Para sa ating hanap buhay.
Mask, hugas, iwas.